before beginning any hair project, it's a really good idea to plan and decide how you're going to actually lay out your hair system. And this really applies to deciding how many hair operators will achieve the effect, and how to actually manage them for workflow purposes. And when we're dealing with large creature shots, what we really suggest is to actually divide up the number of hair objects into as many as possible. So that could mean one hair object per leg of the creature, maybe a couple for the torso. And there's a couple benefits of doing this. The first thing is overall workflow. By focusing on simply one hair object and hiding the others, you have a reduced number of guide hairs to actually edit for styling purposes, and also for rendering. By previewing only that one hair object, you can get a quicker iteration of adjusting shader settings and previewing the look, and this actually helps the workflow quite a bit. The next thing is, from these graphs you can see there's a bit of a performance enhancement by increasing the number of hair operators in certain cases. We mentioned later on that in the hair PDF doc, there's a way for actually breaking apart a hair object into smaller hair objects through an environment variable. And this is actually kind of an automated way for kind of optimizing the performance. But it's a good idea just to understand on the surface how increasing the number of hair operators also decreases the render times. So on this graph on the left, you can see for both the volume and geometry solution, as we increase the number of hair operators, render time decreases fairly dramatically. And this is in cases where there's no shadows and no weight maps. These are the kind of performance numbers we were seeing. The situation becomes a little less obvious in cases where we have ray traced lights, as well as weight maps that are modulating various hair parameters such as cut and density. So there's a clear benefit there. When we use the volume shader, you can see as we increase the number of hair ops, the render time does decrease fairly substantially as well. With the geometry solution, it's a little less obvious. So there's not obviously that clear of a benefit by increasing the number of hair operators. And that becomes even more so when we add the weight maps. You can actually see there's a bit of an increase in render time when we have the weight maps. With the actual increase in the number of hair operators. But these graphs are just basically to give you an understanding of how render times are related to the actual number of hair operators. And like I mentioned, we'll look into this in more detail in the actual hair rendering analysis document.